it's another day here in the shop and it's time for some more tech talk. So let's just watch the show intro and you can get an overview of everything that we do here at My Car Shop, and then we'll get right into today's topic. It's an explosive topic. Let's watch the show intro. I'll see you in 30 seconds. I'm Mike and this is My Car Shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Car's Shop.
Way back in the day, when I was out of high school but working in the public school system as a custodian, I was driving a 68 Dodge Dart GT that had a 73 318 in it, and a local gas station was selling 104 Octane Cam 2. And so my thinking was, of course, I want to make my car faster. Of course, with the word racing in front of fuel, it has to make my car faster. So I went over and put it in and pumped in 5 gallons at that time, probably $15 worth of racing fuel into my car. My gas tank was really low, and so I pumped that in there and was all excited, paid for it, jumped in the car, started it up, was running great, started driving it down the road, got about 2 blocks down the road, and it ran like complete garbage. I mean, like terrible. Smoking, farting, popping, it was awful. I learned a lesson right then. If your engine's not built for racing fuel, don't run racing fuel in it. I drove around the block, a couple blocks, went back to the gas station and pumped it full of the cheapest crap gas I could get in it to hopefully balance that out. And it ran a little bit better, a fair bit better. Drove it back and forth to work a couple days and just went back to my regular 89 leaded fuel in those days. So we want to take the mystery out of Octane and help you understand what Octane is, how it functions, and how it works. Today we're going to be talking about Octane in fuel. So as I said, this is a rather explosive topic because, well, it's fuel and fuel explodes. Let's just get into it. We'll give you just a little understanding and theory behind Octane, how it works, and how it helps you get more power out of your engine. We all see the numbers when we buy our gas, and you can get 85 octane and 87 octane and 89 octane and 93 octane, and then you get into the racing fuels and you've got higher numbers than that. And we tend to think that higher octane fuel means you get more power. However, that's not really the case. So let's get into a little bit of this engine theory behind fuel. So the octane rating is simply the rating of the fuel for it to resist detonation before ignition. So you've all heard the story about like spark knock in an engine, what that is. So let's explain that real quick. So spark knock is when on the compression stroke of a 4-stroke engine, this piston's coming up. That's a piston, by the way. And here's your spark plug. Isn't this so well drawn? As this is coming up, before the spark plug fires, when the fuel comes into the engine, the compression itself causes the fuel to explode. So one of the things that they've done for emissions purposes and so forth is to drop the compression of engines, and then of course they've also dropped the octane of fuel, which means it's a balance between the compression ratio of the engine, which compression ratio is simply the how many squeezes you can get when the piston's at the bottom versus at the top. So the ratio of 8 to 1, 9 to 1, 10 to 1 is how hard it's squeezing that together. The more the pressure in the cylinder, the higher octane fuel is required so it doesn't explode before the spark plug fires. So that's the simplicity of octane, is its ability to resist pre-ignition or resist exploding like a diesel, basically. So if we take a little segue here and we talk about a diesel is designed simply to use, it doesn't have a spark plug. It is designed simply to use compression to make the engine fire. So it squeezes things so hard that when the diesel fuel is injected and then the valve closes, and as the compression builds, it's designed to, at a certain point, when it reaches a certain amount of cylinder pressure, the diesel fuel explodes, creating the power. So it's literally using that pre-ignition as ignition, if you will. Bad words, but you get the idea of the concept. So of course, we want in our cars to not have that happen. We want to time that with the spark plug so that when the spark plug fires, the fuel-air ratio mixture explodes. Now here's the thing. Higher octane does not give you more power at all. Octane has nothing to do with power except for it to prevent it from causing pre-ignition, which would actually lose power. So the way you get more power out of an engine is by increasing its compression ratio or increasing the cylinder pressure. And when you squirt that fuel in there, if it's not pre-detonating because the higher, let's say we have a cylinder pressure of 180 psi, which is pretty high, okay? And you're putting that fuel in there, whether it's fuel injection or carbureted, sucking it doesn't matter. We're putting it in there, and we have a cylinder pressure of 180 psi. What's happening? How do we get more power out of this engine? Why are we getting more power out of this engine than a cylinder over here that only achieves 120 psi? Do you have an answer for that? Stop the video and drop it in the comments right now. Okay, so here's the answer. If I'm squeezing this harder than this one, I'm getting more oxygen in this than I am in this one. That's where your power comes from. So as you're increasing your compression ratio, you're squeezing the cylinders harder and harder, you're compressing more oxygen in there, and then when your fuel ignites, because there's more oxygen, the explosion is more violent. More violent? Violenter? It's badder. So we need a fuel that's not going to pre-ignite at those higher cylinder pressures. Now there's a lot more to this than this, but that's the simplicity of it. So the higher the cylinder pressure, the higher the octane that's required so you don't get the pre-ignition, so that you can get more power out of your engine. Remember that more oxygen in the cylinder equals more power. More power. Right? So, forced induction, what does that cause? Same thing. You're forcing, you're actually adding air and compressing the air into the cylinder. So when the piston is down at the bottom, before it starts to come up on its compression stroke, where a standard engine is basically at 0 psi in the cylinder, forced induction might increase that to 14 psi when the piston's at bottom dead center, so that you're getting more squeeze out of that cylinder. So again, then you need fuel that's not going to detonate. You need fuel that's not going to explode before the spark plug fires off, because you figuratively increase the compression of that engine by forcing the air in there, whether that's through supercharging or turbo or nitrous oxide, and we'll explain those at some point. But so then again, you need more octane. So again, I've said it many times, but it bears repeating again. Octane simply allows you to increase the cylinder pressure so that you can squeeze more oxygen to get more power out of your engine. So in summary, the fuel is not what gets you your power. It's oxygen that gets you your power. So the more oxygen in the engine, the more violent the explosion. Of course, also, think about this. More oxygen means you need more fuel to keep it from being too lean. So, but you're getting a more violent explosion, and that's what matters. That's where you get power. So increasing your compression ratio means you need to increase the octane on your fuel so that you can add more air and fuel into your engine, get it to squeeze harder and explode harder and gain more power. Now, as I said, this is a very elementary discussion. I'm not intending to get into the science of it all because, quite frankly, I'm not sure I could do justice to explaining the the scientific behind it all. But for years and years and years, I thought that higher octane meant you got more power, and yet I couldn't get more power out of an engine because my engine wasn't built enough to utilize it. That's not true. The octane isn't where you get the power. The octane is what prevents the fuel from exploding prematurely. Say that 4 times real fast. It prevents the fuel from exploding prematurely so that you can maximize the power you're getting out of the engine, out of each power stroke. Well, I hope you found that helpful. I get a lot of questions about a lot of different topics, like I said, and I just try to give you some basic understanding of how things work so that you can apply that to your own world, to your own application, to your own vehicle, to your own engine, and help you to broaden your knowledge and understanding of all things automotive. A couple things. Hopefully we'll be back on the 70 Challenger soon. I know you've been getting a little bit impatient. No, not impatient, but just wondering. Part of it's just been so hot. It's really hard to want to put on all the welding gear and flop around on the floor under this car. As you know, I've also had some physical challenges that I've been overcoming, and I'm doing pretty well, and I just don't want to push my luck on that. So I've been doing simpler projects. I'm going to be back on the 47 fuel system soon to get that gas gauge thing finished up. So there'll be a part 2. If you haven't seen the first episode in that, go check that out over on the 47 playlist. More coming on the Oakland soon. Dad and I were going to get together last Friday on that, and I just wasn't feeling well, and so we weren't able to do anything on that. I've also got a project coming real soon on the 73 Swinger. So yeah, don't go away. There'll be lots more coming on the channel, and we are a pretty hands-on channel, and yet I get a lot of requests for things like what we talked about today with Octane. We've done stuff on carburation, leaf springs, wheel hop, all kinds of topics that we've covered here. Fuel pumps, a couple episodes on that. So just a lot of tech things that cheap and dirty stuff, again, not in depth. And if you start analyzing things too much, you can probably tear apart what I'm saying. But I want to give general ideas and general concepts for the basic understanding in simple terms, so that people can take those thought processes and start applying them to their builds. All right, that's going to do it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Hit the bell so you receive those notifications. Also drop a comment here. Talk about your experience with detonation, issues you've had with octane in fuel, how you've learned the hard way, different things about cars in the fuel system world. And we're on Facebook and Instagram /MyCarShop. Rock on, guys.